It's Tuesday, January 7, and I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson, welcoming you to Jamaica Magazine. Coming up on today's show, we'll look back at the year that was with a special review of the happenings within the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation in 2024. Stay tuned for that and so much more. Stick and stay with us.
Let me make it abundantly clear that we're also a government that responds.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, January 7, 2025. Starting April this year, the Supreme Court will begin digital recording of proceedings in the criminal courts. Chief Justice Brian Sykes made the announcement during the swearing-in ceremony of judges for the Hillary term at King's House in St. Andrew on Monday. Justice Sykes explained that a committee has developed the rules to govern this move towards modernization and transparency in the court system.
The rules are in place, as is the work of the committee led by Honorable Mr. Justice Leighton Pusey. A lot of work went in there over the last couple of years, and so we are now there. Training is to be received through collaboration with one of our international partners, and that will include everybody, judges, the digital clerks, the transcriptionists, defense counsel, everyone, because it is going to necessitate changing practices and the way the courts operate.
The Chief Justice says the digitization of court proceedings will also bring about significant changes in court proceedings.
So the practice of court starting, witness giving evidence, come to the end of evidence, witnesses coming out, and when the witnesses are transitioning, counsel pops up, "Oh, Judge, may I mention the matter of so and so and so?" It will only take 5 or 10 minutes and it becomes 20 minutes. That will now have to come to an end, because to get the best out of digital recording, you need to have the continuous recording of the evidence.
Meanwhile, the Court of Appeal is on track to further reduce its case backlog.
What the statisticians will tell us is that when you have that performance for 3 consecutive years, then that is now confirmed as the now current standard of the court. So what has happened is that the court has steadily improved.
The Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce's first business roadshow for 2025 is scheduled to take place next week. The roadshow, targeting micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, will take place on January 16 at the Twickenham Park Church of the Open Bible in St. Catherine. The event is being held under the theme Start, Innovate, Export, Grow. MSMEs across various communities will be exposed to the services of various agencies and departments within the ministry. It's aimed at equipping MSMEs with essential tools, knowledge, and connections to drive innovation, expand market reach, and stimulate business growth. Interested persons are encouraged to register online at roadshow.miic.gov.jm to secure their spot at the event. Participants will receive expert advice on starting, managing, and scaling businesses, as well as insights into innovation strategies to boost competitiveness. The Business Ministry will also provide guidance on how to export Jamaican products and services successfully while facilitating networking opportunities with industry leaders, financial institutions, and support organizations. The roadshow is being hosted in collaboration with key partners, including the Inter-American Development Bank, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Hart NSTA Trust, and the Development Bank of Jamaica. In other news, thousands of potential farm workers have been assessed under the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's Leave No One Behind policy. The policy, which was introduced as part of the recruitment process for the 2025 farm worker season, includes comprehensive assessments in numeracy, literacy, and psychometric testing. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says the policy ensures fairness within the overseas employment program.
Our goal is to make sure that we're not sending back persons into the same situation. We want everyone that receives a farm work card opportunity to be able to improve in one way or the other.
Minister Charles Jr. says the initiative also provides remedial training through the Heart NSTA Trust for individuals facing challenges in numeracy and literacy. In addition, persons who are not successful after the interview process but show potential for entrepreneurship are given employment readiness training or offered the chance to receive a business grant. Minister Charles Jr. reiterated the program's aim of ensuring that persons who are selected for an interview will have access to opportunities that will help them to succeed, whether in farm work or through other avenues. And finally, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security says it will continue to push forward its I Am Able campaign for the new year. The initiative, which was officially launched in December of last year, seeks to provide opportunities for persons with disabilities and seniors. Portfolio Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says a key goal of the campaign is to increase public awareness and understanding of these groups, while also improving their living conditions and access to opportunities.
We consider persons with disability to be a priority, and we are going to make sure that for 2025 that we work hard to ensure that there is more done, improvements even on top of what has already been done.
Minister Charles Jr. was speaking at the recent handover of care packages by the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, JCPD, at Cheshire Village in St. Andrew. JCPD Executive Director Dr. Christine Hendricks lauded government's ongoing efforts to support persons with disabilities.
We want to thank, our government, who have consistently been playing their part in ensuring that persons with disabilities live independently, their rights are promoted and protected, and you can live in dignity and respect and honor as everyone else in society.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Let me make it abundantly clear that we're also a government that responds.
It's time for our update from the Office of the Prime Minister, where we highlight key events and developments from last week. Welcome to Jamaica House Weekly.
As the nation crossed over into 2025, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says continued focus will be placed on targeted areas to drive economic growth this year. Agriculture is one of those key areas mentioned in his address to the nation on New Year's Day. Dr. Holness announced a $1 billion investment on capital infrastructure in storage facilities across Jamaica for farmers.
This will be good for the farmers, you the consumers, and the country as a whole, as we could potentially save foreign exchange on the items we substitute with competitive local output.
Other support to the agriculture sector includes a massive build-out of irrigation infrastructure.
We will also be supporting our farmers with a program of mechanization and technology integration. Growing and building resilience in the agricultural sector is an important strategy for our food security and limiting the impact of food inflation.
Prime Minister Holness says his administration will also reinforce the country's resilience to respond to natural disasters and economic shocks.
Early this month, I will receive the Disaster Risk Management Review report, which I commissioned after the passage of Hurricane Beryl. This will form the basis for a complete overhaul of the disaster preparedness and crisis management apparatus of government.
To facilitate the ease of doing business, Prime Minister Holness says government will be making several policy and legislative changes to streamline procurement, permits, and approvals.
We must re-engineer our processes to ensure that they are fit for purpose, streamlined, responsive, and able to meet the needs of a modern, growing economy.
In 2025, affordable housing and executing Phase 1 of the $45 billion Spark program will also occupy government's plans. The project officially launched last week along Everest Drive in Harborview, St. Andrew.
The roads that we're going to be repairing first are the roads that, first of all, require the least intervention, meaning that there are some roads that will require massive retaining walls, will require the laying of pipes, big water mains. We may have to acquire land. And so those things elongate the process.
During his New Year's message, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness also reflected on the achievements of 2024.
Serious crimes are down approximately 14%, and murders are down approximately 18%, the second consecutive year of reduction. Our economic performance continued to be strong. Unemployment declined to the lowest in our history. Inflation declined to well within the targeted band of 4 to 6%. Interest rates have come down steadily. Our dollar has been trading stably over the past year, and our national debt to GDP ratio is set to fall below 70%. This is the lowest in over 30 years. Our social safety net programs have been significantly increased in terms of resources, up to 30%, targeted to the most vulnerable. We have more than doubled the minimum wage, further increased the income tax threshold, executed the first ever reverse tax credit giveback, and we have increased the pay of public sector workers by over 200 billion Jamaican dollars.
Dr. Holness says 2025 is a pivotal chapter in a larger journey toward a Jamaica that is safe, caring, peaceful, efficient, productive, and affordable for all.
There is still much work to be done, and we know how to get it done well. May 2025 be a year of blessings for you and your family. May our nation be victorious in achieving a virtuous cycle of peace, productivity, and prosperity.
And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
We are in a race against time, to reverse the effects of climate change by one simple action, which has positive and enduring effects. That's right, plant a tree, leave a lasting legacy. Join the My Tree Legacy promotion by planting a tree at your alma mater and share your work with us. Every tree counts. Plant a tree today and keep climate change away.
As we reflect on the past year, it's important to look at the strides made in fostering economic growth and creating job opportunities. What key achievements has the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation made in 2024? Let's take a closer look at the year in review.
Today marks a historic moment in the history of Portmore as we gather under the radiant Jamaican sun, not just to inaugurate a park, but to witness the birth of an oasis. Your key to your new house. We want to give this opportunity to all Jamaicans who are in need of it. So what we are planning to do is to re-establish a partnership with Food for the Poor. One, two, three. This is not just building a road. This is about Jamaica achieving its economic and political independence. This is about liberating the people.
There are 7 major rural water systems that this government will undertake in major rural towns that have suffered the way Brownstown has suffered.
A commitment was made to provide you with water, and we are turning on your water. Today is a great day as we gather to break ground for this significant project, the Rio Cobre Water Supply System Upgrade.
The government of Jamaica is committed to making sure all Jamaicans have access to the services they want in the most convenient way for them.
Jamaica is in the top tier of countries in the world when it comes on to road network.
An allocation for this first phase of the project.
We're doing this small urban center, 6.68 acres of land. We embarked on the international competitive bidding process earlier this year, which saw 5 bidders submitting proposals for 4 construction packages under the Spark project. It's an impressive sight to behold, to see a road being striped, freshly done in this project. Improvement, creating new value in our road network. And so that is what the Spark program is designed to do. The government is now announcing a further $2 billion Jamaican dollars to be spent on our main road network for patching and reinstating the roads to drivable condition.
Thanks to my Prime Minister for this opportunity. For me, to be a homeholder, I was living in a terrible condition for so many years. Thank you again.
We just try to make life goes on with the little that we have.
It is the aspiration of the government. It is what the government tries to do every day to lift people out of poverty into a decent life. The new social housing program is a key component of the social safety net.
As I've always said, this is probably one of the most fulfilling programs for me because you literally see the transformation of people's lives.
Your birth certificate is an essential document that proves your identity, citizenship, as well as age. It's also required for many important life events and services. Sometimes you may need it to change your child's name or add a parent's name to it. Let's look at some of the things that you need to be aware of.
For children whose father's name is not on their birth certificate, what we find is that for legal purposes, persons want inheritance. Most times we need proof of paternity. And which other way would you show that John Brown is the father of this child if his name is not on the birth certificate? It makes it much more difficult when they are supposed to be probating the will.
So my name is not on my child's birth certificate. How could I add it?
Well, there are three means by which a father's name can be added to a child's birth record. One is that he signs at the time of the registration. So if the registration is done at the hospital today, he visits the hospital to sign within the window of the mother being there and signs. Now, if it's a case where the father is not available, or he's out of the island, or he's otherwise engaged, then the other means by which he can add his name is by what we call a Form E. Now, this document is signed by both parents in the presence of a Justice of the Peace, and they would have submitted their IDs along with the form once it is signed. This form, though, is valid for 42 days, and it's 42 days from the date of registration. After 42 days, the form is not valid.
But my child is already 1 year old. That time has well passed. What can I do?
The next means by which the name can be added is by what we call a status form. Now, this form is utilized once the child is over 6 weeks old. Once the child is over this time frame, what it means is that you'd have to complete the status form, have it signed in the presence of the Justice of the Peace, both parents would submit their IDs, and the father would have submitted his birth certificate. There's a cost attached to this service once a child is over 6 weeks.
I'm a full-blown adult. My father is 1 foot in the grave. Can I still add him to my birth certificate?
There are no restrictions to what time frame you can add your name. If the child is 100 and the father is still alive, then of course he can sign the status form in order to add his name to the child's birth record. If the father is deceased, then it makes it a little bit more complicated because he's not here to sign. He's not here to vouch to say that he's actually the father of this child. So with that, you'd have to go through the court, do the necessary documentations in terms of affidavit and all that in order to add the father's name to the child's birth record.
My situation is a bit different. My daughter now lives overseas, but it is something that I've always wanted to do. Is it still possible?
If the child is overseas, then it would not affect the processing of that application because the requisite documents really involves the parents. So once a mother is here in the island, she can sign, and if she's not in the island, then the form is on our website. It can be pulled down, printed, completed in the presence of a notary public, and then the original is sent to us or to the applicant who will be applying for the birth certificate. Now bear in mind that when you're adding the father's name to the child's birth record is what we call a record updating activity. So if it's not the child or the mother who's coming to do this application, the application should accompany a permission letter.
RGD register my son wrong and give him another man's name. I need for them correct that. So how that I go?
Once it affects the child's identity in terms of who they really are, like a brown to a grey, that changes a little drastic. So of course, you know, you'd have to go through the court where DNA would have been ordered to prove the true paternity of the child, and then a court order is sent to the RGD to do the necessary changes to the birth record or to create a new birth record depending on what is ordered by the court.
My baby mother no stop growing me. Every time me tell her to add my name, it's a different issue. What me fi do?
In adding the father's particulars to the child's birth record really requires the consent of both parents. So there is no two ways about it, because only these two people can tell that yes, I am the parent or parents of this child or children. Now, if it's a case where one parent is not consenting to adding the particulars of the father, or the mother is not consenting to adding the particulars to the child's birth record, there's not much that the RGD can do in terms of pursuing this application, because the requirement is that both of them have to sign. So mommy has to say yes, this man is the father of the child, and this man acknowledge that yes, I am the father of the child. Only in that way that the father's particulars can be really added to the child's birth record, because it's a declaration that you're making to say that yes, we are the parent of this child or children.
My name is on my child's birth certificate, but the spelling is incorrect. How can I fix that?
It depends on the variation of the name. If it's a case where the father can substantiate that the name should have been spelled this way by using his birth certificate and other proof, then the RGD can treat it as a clerical error. So we first have to determine what is the name and what is the name that you require, and what evidence do you have to support the name that you really want. We've had instances where mothers show up at the hospital with more than one daddy, and we find that the truth always comes out when questions are being asked. Now, whether there is one gentleman for the KFC, one for the Burger King, one for the rent and the other miscellaneous stuff, make sure that the name that is being added to the record is the biological father of the child. So I always encourage mothers, do it right the first time, because in correcting this error, it is a very tedious process. It has to go through the court. We can't just write John Brown and then you come back to say, no, it's not John Brown, it is Tom Stokes, and we just take the pen and cross out John Brown. It cannot be done like that. It has to go through the court where there has to be proof of who the biological father of the child is, and the only way you can determine that is through a DNA, which is quite expensive. So I usually encourage our mothers to do it right the first time.
And that's it for today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Do remember to visit our website, gis.gov.jm, for more news you can use. On behalf of the entire team here at the GIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.